Hello everyone and welcome back or welcome to the channel. I know that thanks to Patrick, who is an amazing booktuber and a great friend, there are a lot of new people on the channel right now, and I just wanted to say hello and thank you to everybody who decided to subscribe and follow along. This video wasn't on the list of videos that I had planned to put out over the next week or so, but because there are so many new people here, I just wanted to do a bit of an update for the channel, I guess. I did put out a channel kind of introduction and goals video. That was my first video on BookTube. But I thought that a good video to do to try to provide a little bit of an update and to introduce you a little bit to my reading tastes, I would put out a video of fantasy series that I am hoping to get to soon. If you've spent any time on the channel, I've talked a little bit about how I find it difficult to put together TBR videos. I don't usually plan out my reading in advance. I do keep a book journal and I do put kind of a tentative TBR at the beginning of every month, but it's just as well I didn't even make those pages because I so very rarely stick to them. I get really excited about the books that other people talk about on BookTube, about books that are released that I want to get to, or my mood just changes and I feel like reading something completely different. So I know there are a lot of channels who put out really solid TBRs that plan kind of months or sometimes even years in advance. And I do envy that kind of precision because I do enjoy being organized and I love making lists. But I just know that it would never work for me. That is not ever going to happen. This is not the way that my brain works. I change what I want to do very quickly. I get very easily distracted by things and I need to keep the book list open and free, or else I feel like reading would start to feel a little bit stifled for me. But there are obviously series that I would like to prioritize, and series, some of which I've been wanting to read for a really long time, and some of which are a little bit newer, but I feel really excited because I feel like I will like them a lot. So for this list of fantasy books, I decided to break it up into series that I have started but need to continue, series by authors whose works I've already read, and series by authors whose works I have never read. So kind of a couple of categories there to touch on. I will say that I tend to be a binge reader. If there's a series that I like, I will usually read it all the way through in quick succession. And this happens to varying degrees. If the books are really fast-paced, like John Gwynn's Faithful and the Fallen series, for example, then I can kind of speed through series like that in a couple of days. But if the books are a little bit more dense and I'm still really loving them, then it'll probably take me about a month or 2 months to get to the whole series. But it's usually very quick. I'm not someone to leave a lot of series dangling because I will A, forget about what has happened before, and B, I'm just not very good at waiting. So it doesn't tend to work out very well for me. But there are some series that I have started because they have contained either trilogies or quartets within the world. And the first of those that I'm going to talk about is The Realm of the Elderlings by Robin Hobb. So I read the Farseer trilogy last year and I loved it so much. I have heard kind of through popular opinion on BookTube that people tend to prefer the second series, The Live Ship Traders. And I think part of that love for The Live Ship Traders is what has held me off a little bit from reading because I love Fitz. I don't understand. I don't know how I could love a trilogy more than I love the Farseer trilogy because it was written to be so well suited to my tastes. I like a slowly unfolding fantasy. I like following one character as opposed to multiple POVs. I love getting to know somebody intimately and watching them grow and change over the course of their lifetime. And for me, the Farseer trilogy had all of those things in such an exquisitely done package. That being said, there are obviously more Fitz books in the Realm of the Elderlings, and I really want to get to those. And I do feel confident that I'll like The Live Ship Traders because everybody seems to love it so much. They say that Hobb's talents are on quite obvious display in that trilogy, so I am looking forward to getting to it, but I think that's where a bit of the hesitation has come from. Similarly, I read the first Law Trilogy a couple of years ago now. So I think I started this one in 2019, and when I had come back to reading fantasy after a lot of years of mostly reading literary and contemporary fiction with some fantasy and sci-fi sprinkled in, First Law was the first kind of modern fantasy series that I wanted to tackle. People spoke so highly of it, and the things that they said were really special about it, like the character development, were things that really appealed to me. So I read the First Law trilogy, the initial 3 books, and I loved them. I actually was feeling a little bit worried that I had kind of come back into modern fantasy and then read the best that was on offer and was kind of worried about what would happen next. But I have also enjoyed the other modern fantasy books that I have read in the time since. So those were unfounded worries. But I am looking forward to continuing with the First Law series and the other books in that world. So I have the first of the standalone series, Best Served Cold, here at home. So I'm hoping to read that relatively soon and then get to the rest of the standalones and then on to the other books in the series. And then I guess the third book series that I have read, I've actually only read 1 work from this, but I would like to continue, and that is the Dresden Files by Jim Butcher. So I actually read the first book, Stormfront, like, I'm gonna say 12 years ago, probably. I think it was in 2010 that I read Stormfront for the first time. It had been recommended to me by one of my good friends from high school, and he was my friend into university as well. And we had both liked a lot of the same things. So it was actually, he was the person that I borrowed a lot of my fantasy books from in my teenage years. He loaned me the Sword of Truth books. We were both big fans of Buffy and Angel. And so he had recommended the Dresden Files, and I read the first one and didn't love it. I didn't dislike Harry Dresden, I guess, but I didn't really feel super invested in him as a character. The book was okay. I didn't really love the mystery elements, and I just thought, like, maybe this is not the series for me. Fast forward to now, and I hear so many people talking about the Dresden Files, about how much the books improve after those first couple, how there starts to become this kind of underlying narrative that threads its way through the whole series, that we see a lot of growth from Harry Dresden. And so I am really interested in reading them, and these books are really short. You know, it doesn't take long to get through them, so I don't think that I'll have any trouble pushing my way through the series. So that is another one that I would like to get into and would like to continue with. The next kind of subcategory is reading authors who I have read some works of theirs, but not some of their kind of biggest or most well-known works. And the first one on this list has to be Brandon Sanderson. I have struggled with trying to read Brandon Sanderson. So I know that he is the biggest name in modern fantasy. He kind of cranks out books like there's no tomorrow. People love Mistborn. They love the Stormlight Archive. And I do hear a fair amount of praise for his other kind of lesser known works as well. The first book that I ever read by Brandon Sanderson was Steelheart, which was part of his Reckoner series. And I read it around the time that I was really into kind of superheroes, comic books. I had gone to Comic-Con. I had met Brandon Sanderson, and he was really nice. And I listened to him on some panels, and he did a really great job, very eloquent, obviously very knowledgeable about fantasy and just a great imagination. But I didn't love that Reckoners series. And so I never kind of went out and looked for more of Brandon Sanderson's works. Then I bought my dad the Mistborn trilogy for either Christmas or his birthday one year, and he really liked it and had kind of said, okay, give this a try. And so I tried to read that first book twice, and something about the writing style or the introduction just didn't grip me, and so I put it aside and said that I would come back to it. And I haven't actually come back to it. So I know that I want to. Some of the things that Brandon Sanderson is really well known for, like his very intricate world building, his complex magic systems, are not the things that appeal to me about fantasy. But I have heard, and especially in relation to the Stormlight Archive, that he also creates really complex characters. There's a lot of positive mental health representation, and that he's doing a lot of those things that modern fantasy is really well known for. And plus, everybody has read these books, and I don't like it when everybody has read something and I don't know what to say or what it's about. a horrible feeling. So I definitely want to get to Mistborn. I want to get to the Stormlight Archive. I'm not fully convinced that I will be the fan of Brandon Sanderson that some people are, but I hope that I enjoy the books anyway. The other author whose work I just have recently read actually is David Gemmell. So I just finished reading Legend by David Gemmell. I did a review for that and I enjoyed it so much that I wanted to look through more of his catalog. So I had asked on a couple of Discords and had gotten some advice on where to go next. And a lot of people recommended his series, and I'm really sorry, but I don't know how to pronounce this. I don't know if it's pronounced Regant or Regante or Regant. Not sure, but his series, it's a 4-book series, historical fantasy, and a lot of people have said that that is some of his best work. So I'm really looking forward to reading that one. I would love to read more of Gemmell. I really liked his style. I really liked what he explored in Legend, and I'm hopeful that I will enjoy the rest of his books as well. And finally, there are a handful of authors whose work I have obviously heard a lot about, but I have never experienced for myself, and they have a couple of series that I'm really looking forward to reading. So the first one would be the Malazan Book of the Fallen series. This is one of the biggest fantasy series out there. A lot of people, including Philip Chase, whose opinions I really respect, have said that this is one of their favorite fantasy series of all time. The world building, the thematic exploration, the characters, just the entire construction of this series seems like it is done on the high is done kind of to the highest degree. It is done with complete care, and I am really, really looking forward to this. I know Mike at Mike's Book Reviews is doing a read through of Malazan, and I had hoped to get into that and to kind of join in there, but I just missed the boat. There were a lot of things going on at the beginning of the year, and I unfortunately didn't get to jump on at that time, but I am hoping to start Malazan at least sometime this year. I would really like to get into those books and to see what it is that pulls people in and that kind of catapults this series to the top of what fantasy has to offer. Similarly, another one of the kind of cornerstones of fantasy that I have not read is Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time. This is a series that I just didn't have access to. I think it's one that I would have really liked as a younger reader, but I didn't have access to it, so I didn't end up reading it. And then by the time that I could go out and kind of buy them for myself, I was really busy with university and with medical school, and it was just so much other stuff that I had to do that a 14-book series seemed like a lot to take on. But finally, I feel like I'm in a place where I can read a series that is that big. I have the time to devote to it. I have the mental energy to devote to it. And so I am looking forward to it. I had struggled a bit with which one to start first, Malazan or Wheel of Time. And although I think I will like Malazan more because what I have heard about that series seems to be more of what I enjoy as opposed to the Wheel of Time, but with the TV show coming out, I really want to get into Wheel of Time so that once that's released, I can kind of get in on the conversation and discuss it and talk about it and watch it. So I think I will probably start Wheel of Time first, but again, that is up in the air at this point. Another series that I would really love to get into is the Greatcoat series by Sebastian de Castell. I know Alan at the Library of Alexandria loves this series, and he has kind of been so passionate in his reviews and every time that he talks about it that I can't help but really want to read it. I do have the first book on my Kindle. I picked it up on a Kindle sale a couple of months ago, and I really like the Three Musketeers. I love that swashbuckling story. I do love heroes who are fighting for justice and what they believe in. Those are things that I enjoy. I do enjoy a good morally gray character, but I also do like the hero versus the villain archetype. I do like that story. So I think that I will really enjoy these. They sound like they're a lot of fun, that they're very funny, and I'm looking forward to getting into them. So the last series that I want to start relatively soon is the Thrawn Trilogy by Timothy Zahn. So this is one of the series within the Star Wars extended universe, and it is probably one of the most popular series written in that universe. It has a lot of fans, a lot of people love it. My husband is a huge Star Wars fanatic and he loves the books in the extended universe. And I had asked him kind of for some advice on where to start, something that was not too long, easy to get through, something I would enjoy. And that is the one that he recommended. So that is the one that I'm going to read. I'm really looking forward to getting to this. I don't know why I haven't read any of these books. Both my dad and my husband have read kind of essentially all of the extended universe. And so they talk about it all the time. And I'm just kind of sitting on the outside, not knowing anything about what's going on. So I would like to change that. And I am really looking forward to getting into the Thrawn Trilogy sometime this year. And that is all. That is a pretty big list of series to try to get into. Like I said, I'm not someone who likes to start a lot of series and leave them hanging, so I'm not sure how I will go about reading these and in what order. But if anybody has any suggestions for where I should start, if they have any that they would really like to see covered on the channel, so they would like me to read them so that I can review and give an opinion, then I'm happy to take all of that into consideration. Again, if you are new to the channel, then welcome. I'm really glad to have you here, and I will see you with another video soon. Bye.